In last video, we discussed about Mars in the 12th house of the horoscope. In this video, we are going to talk about what happens when you have Saturn in the 12th house of the horoscope. So keep watching. Namaste and welcome to Pramanik Astrology channel. I'm your host Prasad Mahazani. Help you raise your vibrations and become your true self with the help of Vedic Astrology. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. You'll be getting Vedic astrological videos just like this one. And these videos will help you grow further, faster into Vedic astrological studies. If you are looking for readings and consultation, check out the link into the description section. If you have any question, please share your question into the comment section of the relevant YouTube videos. I read all the comments and I try to reply to almost all the comments. If you have any question regarding the reading, ping me on Instagram at Pramanik Astrology. Saturn in the 12th house of the horoscope. What is Saturn? Saturn is a polar opposite of Jupiter. Jupiter is all about which is good, which is positive, expansive, and surplus, income, wealth, abundance, optimism. All these can be seen with Jupiter. Saturn is all about the negativity in life. Saturn represents age and death. Saturn represents restriction, and Saturn restricts us by age, death, time. Saturn is the planet of time. Saturn is all about your critical nature, analysis, intelligence, and more so it is related to your detachment and the relativity with the life. Saturn represents your securities. Saturn deals with the securities, the baseline securities which are required for the existence. He is not here to look for the optimism, things beyond this realm. He is right here and he likes to be practical. Saturn is practical and intelligence. That's why he's always dealing with the earthy things, practical things, rather than other realm things or things beyond this comprehension of faith. He likes to be grounded and likes to be right here. Saturn is the karaka of the masses, subordinates, and general public. Sun is more of a governing authority, like a president or someone who is ruling the government. Saturn is more of a follower. Saturn is more of that subordinate who is doing the real hard work. What is 12th house? 12th house is the most misunderstood Drishtana house. 12th house is second to the 11th and 11 to the second. So it is Dhanasthan to the Labhasthan and Labhasthan to the Dhanasthan. If you want to know more about the hidden meanings of the 12th house, go and watch my 12th house Bhavat Bhavam video, wherein we have discussed the 12th house with respect to all other houses. And that really opens the whole new dimension about the meaning of that house. Today we are going to talk about the 12th house with respect to the ascendant in the D1 chart. 12th house is the house of loss. First house is the house of health and your physical body. 12th house is the dissolution of the self into the universal energy. 12th house is the house of dissolution of the self. First house is self, loss to it. 12th is the dissolution of the self. 12th house is also the house of expenses. And when we say expense, there are two types of expenses and exhaustion. The financial expenses and the energy exhaustion. All these can be seen with the 12th house. 12th house is also the house of bed pleasures. 12th house is one of the house which represents sexual activities, along with 7th and 8th house. 12th house is also about your foreign things. Anything which is foreign can be seen with the 12th house. 12th house is the farthest house from the first house. Though it is next to the first house, one has to travel all the houses, all the 11 houses to reach to the 12th house. That is why the 12th house is the house of foreign things in your life. Any connection with the foreign things, there is always the involvement of the 12th house and 12th lord into it. 12th house is also the house of hidden enemies, isolation, solitude, living alone, going to the foreign land, jails, asylums, jungles where there are not many people. Unusual, adventurous journeys can be seen with the 12th house. The abstract and other realm thoughts and imagination can also be seen with the 12th house. Astral journeys, long-term journeys, journeys to the unusual places can also be seen with the 12th house. 12th house is also about the spirituality. 12th house also represents the hidden things. Your hidden talents can be seen with the 12th house, because 12th house is the 12th to the 1st. So 12th house is hiding something. It holds something which we don't know. And that is the spirituality, which really brings out the best you, the potential you have, which you don't know. You can extract that from the 12th house. Now, the planet Saturn comes into the 12th house of the horoscope. The planet of the intelligence comes into the house of expenses. First of all, wherever Saturn goes, it kind of slows down that house. So the person with the Saturn in the 12th house, for him, Saturn slows down the expenses. These people are not the spendthrift like Mars in the 12th house, or maybe, for instance, Venus in the 12th house, or Sun in the 12th house. These people are cautious about where they are spending money. The planet of the intelligence is coming into the house of expense. The planet of the aging comes into the house of exhaustion. So this really makes a person physically weak, because these people have hard time conserving their energy. Because Saturn, though it is a slow moving planet, the 12th house has a nature of exhaustion. So every planet will have its own way of exhausting energy. Like Mars and Venus will involve themselves into the bed pleasures and will, release that energy. Mercury will go into the imagination and will find the way out for that energy. Sun has his own way, but Saturn, kinds of slow moving planet and intelligent planet really is involved into the 12th house things. So he is not much into the physical activity, but he has to take care of his energy. Whenever you have planets in the 12th house, the first thing you have to do is to conserve your energy, because these planets are going to consume your energy one way or the other. Everybody has their own way of consuming energy. Like Mars and Venus will involve into the sexual activities and release their energies. Mercury will involve into writing or into the imagination, will go to the other realm, will think about sci-fi, will think about writing, and will release that energy. But Saturn had to be careful while dealing with the 12th house. When you have Saturn in the 12th house, you have to rest more. This Saturn will make you work and work. This placement is similar to the one in the 4th house. Okay, the person with the Saturn in the 12th house have a hard time taking rest. These people don't get rest. So if you have Saturn in the 12th house, make sure you sleep more, have more sleep, rest more, give your body energy. Saturn is minimalistic planet. He is not a flamboyant like Rahu or Venus or even Mars for that matter. But He is very economical and minimalistic. So the planet of the economic prudence and minimalism comes into the house of the minimalism. 12th house is also the house of living with the minimum resources. That's how you can live alone in the isolation. Okay, so when Saturn comes in here, it kind of restrict the expenses even more. Next, the planet of practicality. Saturn is the most grounded and practical planet. The planet of the practicality comes into the house of the abstract things. So these people have to be careful when it comes to practical things, because now they are confused, because now their practicality needs the grounding. But 12th house is an abstract house. So at times these people might involve into unwise decisions or unwise expenses. They have to be careful with this. The inherent nature of the Saturn is practical, but the 12th house is abstract, and that's where they have to be careful. Okay. 12th house is the house of isolation, and Saturn is the planet of detachment. The planet of detachment comes into the house of isolation. Saturn loves in here. Saturn loves to be alone, and this is a good placement for any kind of spiritual practices, because these people have devoted spiritual lives. I have seen people with the 12th house Saturn doing certain kind of sadhana, wherein discipline is important, wherein consistency is important. Like you have to get up at certain time and go at certain place every single day for next 20 years. Are you ready? Saturn says, yes, I'm ready. And he does that. So Saturn in the 12th house is good for any kind of sadhana, upasana, or any kind of spiritual rituals and practices. 12th house is the house of foreign lands, and Saturn is a slow moving planet. So when we have Saturn into the 12th house, it shows there will be delays in the foreign journeys. There will be delays with respect to all the 12th house things. But it also shows long-term stay in foreign lands, because Saturn is a slow-moving planet. He will take his time to go and will take his time to come back. Okay, so long-term stay can be seen with the Saturn in the 12th house. 12th house is also the house of imagination. The planet of restriction goes into the house of imagination. So these people have a hard time developing their imagination. Their imagination is nowhere near like that of Mercury in the 12th house, wherein they get the insights from the other realms, where they can see through the other realms. They get that intelligence from the divine source. Saturn is practical. He doesn't get the abstract things. He likes to understand and work upon the concrete, practical, grounded things. So when planet of the restriction goes into the 12th house of imagination, it kind of restrict their imagination and makes them even more practical. From the 12th house, Saturn aspects the second house of the horoscope. What is the second house? Second house is the house of finance. Things which you value are the resources. The tangible resources can be seen with the second house. Now Saturn is aspecting it with the third aspect from the 12th house. Saturn is placed into the 12th house of expenses, and now it is aspecting the second house of the resources and finances. This makes person careful, practical about saving money. Now he is taking the wise decision about his investments. This is a person who is minimalistic himself, yet he takes wise decisions with respect to the second house, because Saturn is aspecting the second house. From the 12th house, Saturn aspects the 6th house of the horoscope with its 7th aspect. 6th house is the house of the dates, disease, delays, arguments. 6th house is one of the Artha Trikona house along with being an Upachaya house, which grows with time every single day. And Saturn loves the 6th house. Saturn loves the repetitive work. Saturn loves consistency. Saturn loves hard work. So when Saturn is aspecting the 6th house from the 12th house, it kind of brings in his discipline into the 6th house. This person loves to help the 6th house people. Like he will help pets or underprivileged people or the masses in general in some social issues. And it might have some connection with the 12th house because Saturn is placed into the 12th house. From the 10th house aspect, Saturn aspects the 9th house of the horoscope. What is 9th house? 9th house is the house of beliefs. Saturn is the planet of disbelief, distrust. And now the planet of distrust is aspecting the 9th house of the horoscope, which is of the belief, which is the Jupiterian quality we always talk about. Saturn is the polar opposite to the Jupiter. Saturn is the disbelief or distrust, and Jupiter is that leap of faith into the unknown with optimism. So when Saturn aspects the 10th house, 9th house of the horoscope with the 10th aspect, it kind of restrict the 9th house, which is the house of father, house of gurus, house of religion, spirituality. So these people are quite rigid about their spiritual beliefs, and they might have a difference of opinion with their gurus or with their father, or maybe a separation from the father or guru. So yes, this was Saturn in the 12th house of the horoscope, as much as I could hold, grasp and share with you guys. What to watch next? If you are new to my channel, go to my YouTube page and go to any of the playlists and start exploring the fascinating world of Vedic astrology. Start exploring how to get started into Vedic astrology, ascendants, retrograde planets, planets through houses, and all those playlists, sending you tons of positive energies, sending you high vibrations. See you in the next videos. Love and peace.